Hey everybody, thanks for clicking the thumbnail. Welcome to Talkin' Habs. In this video today, it's a part 3 of a 3-part series where, like the 12 days of Christmas, because this is Christmas time, I'm doing the 12 days of Habs hockey jerseys. So in that, I'll take the numbers 12 to 1, and I'm going to give you the best players to wear those numbers. Everything's on the board for numbers 5 down to 1, because this is part 3. And before we get to that, give a thumbs up if you like the video, and if you have any comments about what I'm going to do here on this board, leave them in the comment section. And if you're new to the channel or you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and ring that notifications bell down there, and let's get right into the video. And we're going to start with number 5 and work our way down to number 1. In number 5, we got Didier. Oh, I forgot a letter in his name. There's an R there. Didier Pitre. Didier Pitre from 1918 to 1922. I don't know a lot about him. It's an old player, but I mean, I know who he is. He was a great player of the day, and from Quebec, obviously, with Didier Pitre. And that's about all I know about him. Next up is Billy Boucher. Billy Boucher and his brother Bobby Boucher were a great pair. I think Bobby Boucher was the better player there, but they were brothers. They're stars in the league at the time, and Bobby Boucher, his brother, I'm sure is the name for the Adam Sandler movie, The Waterboy. His name is Bobby Boucher. I'm sure that's where he gets it from. Anyway, Billy Boucher, 1923 to 1927. Next up, Bernie Boom Boom Geoffrion. Bernie Boom Boom Geoffrion from 1951 to 1964. I want to say, did he invent the slap shot? Am I wrong? He got the name Boom Boom from the sound the puck made against the boards when he'd take a shot, and he got the nickname from that. The jersey number 5 was retired. He was one of the 2 players that it was retired for. The other player is the next guy up on the board, Guy Lapointe. Guy Lapointe, a member of the Big 3 back in the 70s, Hockey Hall of Famer. So is Geoffrion. I think so is Pitre. And I'm not sure about Billy Boucher. So Guy Lapointe, a really great defenseman. He was more of the offensive side. Him and Robinson could put the puck. He could play both sides really well, and just a great player. Guy Lapointe, 1971 to 1982. Their numbers were retired not that long ago. I want to say about 5-6 years ago. The numbers were retired together. Next up is Rick Green. He played from 1983 to 89. He was a pretty good player. We got him in a trade for Rod Langway, where we got Ryan Walter and Rick Green in return. He was a member of the 1986 Stanley Cup champs, and yeah, a good player. So who are the best of these 3? Well, I mean, since 2 of the names were retired, I think that's obvious. So I think Rick Green is the number 3 here. Rick Green. Like I said, a great player, but I mean, you know, when you got Lapointe and you got Geoffrion ahead of them, there's no way. Now, who's better between Guy Lapointe and Boom Boom Geoffrion? It's hard to tell, but Boom Boom Geoffrion won a couple of scoring championships. He was a great player. I'm going to give the title to Geoffrion and put Lapointe here in second, who, by the way, has been battling cancer, and his son recently tweeted that his father is in full remission, or in remission, after only 1 year since the diagnosis. So good news for Guy Lapointe. Yeah, it's happy to hear that. And then the best player here, obviously, going to be Geoffrion. So boom, boom. And I think the reason why Geoffrion's number was not retired earlier is because there was a rift between the team and him at some point. And I think that just stayed until at some point they made up. And I think that was when did they retire? Sometime in the 2000s. So yeah, I think that's the reason why. And then probably Lapointe would never have worn that jersey, but it's the way it worked out. Next up is number 4. We all know the great Jean Belliveau wore number 4 for many years, and he's on that list, obviously. But first up is Nuzzy Lalone. Nuzzy Lalone, one of the early stars of the NHL. From 1918 to 1922, he wore that number. And yeah, he was one of the early stars. I don't know where he got the nickname Nuzzy, and I don't know what his first name is. And I think that I'm not positive, but I think I watched something where they said, I don't know if it's known what his first name is. He's always gone by Nuzzy, and I doubt that was the name given to him, but he got that name probably as a kid. He sold newspapers. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, Nuzzy Lalone. Next up, the great Orel Juliat, who was a longtime line mate of Howie Morenz. Just a great player, small guy. In those days, the players weren't big like they are today, that's for sure. But he was a really great player, Orel Juliat. He played from 1923 to 1938 with the Montreal Canadiens. And then that leaves us with the great Jean Belliveau, the captain, longest-serving captain for Montreal, tied with Saku Koivu. His number was retired, way back. Not long after he retired, his number was retired. So he was Hab from 1954 to 1951. He played a few seasons, like 5 games over the previous 3 seasons, wearing other numbers until he finally signed permanently with Montreal, because Montreal, Frank Selke, the GM, bought the Quebec Senior Hockey League that he was playing in. That's where the Quebec Aces played in, and he didn't want to leave there because he was making good money, and the fans loved him so much that he felt obliged to stay and not turn pro. So Canadians bought the league, turned it pro, and kind of forced him to sign a contract with Montreal, and that's how that happened. So the best players here, obviously Belliveau is going to go on top. So who goes on the bottom 2? I think it's going to be number 3. I'm going to give it to Juliat, who I never really did see much of. I've seen a little bit, but he played with Howie Morenz, so he was a great player. But I think Nuzzy Lalone was a little bit better. He was a big star of his day, played everywhere, and Montreal was very glad to get him. And was probably the first big star that they had when they came into the NHL. And so that leaves obviously Jean Belliveau, arguably, because I think it's Guy Lafleur who's the best Montreal Canadian ever. But believe me, it's either, people are going to say either one of 4 names. And Lafleur, like I do, Belliveau, Richard, the Rocket, or Doug Harvey. I mean, those are like the 4 best, and you're going to get those names more often than not when you're asking, I guess, people of my my age group and older, when you're asking who the best Habs player ever was. But Jean Belliveau, definitely great player. And you know what? Classy guy. Like, if you look up the word classy in the dictionary, Jean Belliveau's picture is there. Like, unbelievable. This guy was amazing. If you met him and you talked to him and you met him 5 years later, he'd ask you how your kids are, and he'd know their names. He was amazing at that kind of stuff. Just class all the way. Number 3. So we're down to number 3, and we start off with Emile Butch Bouchard. A lot of people don't know what his first name is, but it's Emile. So, I'm not getting there. Butch Bouchard, from 1951 to 1956, and he's the one who's got the retired number his name on the back of that number that was retired. For a 5-year career, this guy must have been amazing. I know he was. I never really got to see him play, but he played, he won a few cups there. I don't know how many. That was just before, I think he retired after the first cup of the 5 in a row. But he was a great player. I don't remember why he retired, if it was an injury reason or whatever, but Emile Butch Bouchard. Next up, J.C. Trombley. A lot of people confused, or I did. I'm assuming a lot of other people did too. Confused him with Gilles Trombley, also played here in Montreal. Great players, both names spelled the same way. But J.C. Trombley from 1960 to 1972. And then I've got John Van Boxmer. I think mostly because I like the name, John Van Boxmer from 1975 to 1977. And Brian Engblom, a good Jewish kid from 1977 to 1982. Interesting enough, a friend of my father's was friends with him and his wife. So that's kind of an interesting thing to know. I never got to meet him or anything, but... So who are the best 3 there? And in what order are they? And we can probably figure Butch Bouchard had the number retired. You got to figure he was considered the best at that with that number by Montreal, because I think Bouchard's number was retired in the 90s or early 2000s. It was retired like after, obviously, Brian Engblom. So who's number 3? And we got Brian Engblom. Speaking of, he was a really good, solid defenseman. Not flashy or anything like that. Just a really good, solid defenseman. I can't really tell you style and all that. I don't remember. So, but I just remember he was just a steady, not overly flashy, didn't score a ton or anything like that. Just a good, solid defenseman. Next up, we got J.C. Trombley from 1960 to 72. So I sort of remember Trombley, but not like a ton because I didn't really start following Montreal closely till like 1970. So I saw a little bit of him, but I don't remember him that much, to be honest with you. And then that leaves obviously Butch Bouchard, great defenseman, big guy. His son was, what was his son's name? He played here also for a long time. Oh, I can't remember his, I'm just blanking on his son's name. It wasn't Butch. It wasn't his nickname. But anyway, I don't remember. If anybody remembers, let me know in the comment section. I'm just blanking on that right now. And he played with Montreal in the 70s for a few years as well. Next up, so that's number 3. We got the number 2s. The number 2s are next, and they include Sprague Cleghorn. Now, of the Odie Cleghorn, if you remember if you watched the video before this, Odie Cleghorn had a few different numbers. He was in there. I don't remember between the two who was better, but I think it's Sprague that was the bigger star between Sprague and Odie. And Odie, it's not a Garfield character. It was a real player and a real name. Sprague Cleghorn from 1922 to 1925. Then you got Silvio Mantha, who was in the other video as well. Great defenseman of the day. I'm sure he's a defenseman because of the number. He had low numbers, and I think that's defenseman numbers, but I could be wrong there. What years? 1926 to 1936. He is the great-great-uncle or great-great-grandfather of the Red Wings' Anthony Mantha. So Anthony Mantha comes from a long line of hockey players. Next up is the great Doug Harvey, 1951 to 1961. The only reason he didn't last longer with Montreal was because he was part of that group of players that tried to organize a union. And the punishment for those players was to be traded. You have Ted Lindsay in Detroit, got traded to, where did he go? Chicago, I believe. And then you have Doug Harvey, got traded to the Rangers. There were a couple of others that also had that happen to them. And it was the reason why, if I'm correct, Gordie Howe did not want to be involved in all that stuff, and he didn't. He got a lot of flack for that, but he wasn't involved and he didn't get the punishment like the other players did. So Doug Harvey, his number is retired. The number is retired with his name on the back. Let's see, Doug Harvey. Loved his alcohol. He had a bar, very famous bar. I delivered a couple of times there when I was a courier. I never went there to drink. I'm not a big drinker, so I never went there to drink. But very famous bar here in Montreal. And yeah, he was just a really great hockey player. Without Doug Harvey, you might not have had Bobby Orr because he was one of the first to play like not traditional, to carry the puck more, to be more involved in the offense. He was one of the first, if not the first. And yeah, he was great. He changed the game and allowed Bobby Orr to further change it, how a defenseman plays. So that's Doug Harvey. Jacques Laperriere, 1964 to 1974. What I remember most about Jacques Laperriere, besides being like a tall, lanky defenseman, was a commercial he did for a headache tablet called Instantine. And he would say, when I get a headache, I get a bad, or no, I'll do it again. When I get a headache, it's a bad one. I take Instantine. I'll never forget that. And no, for your French people out there, I'm not making fun of the accent. It's just that's what happened when I was a kid. That's what I saw. And I'll always remember him for that. So, hey, anybody else out there watching this, remember that commercial for Instantine with Jacques Laperriere? I think he skated off the ice and he did what he did. Anyway, next one, Gaston Gingra, because I always loved the name Gaston. He had a blast of a shot, but never knew where the hell that was going. So when guys were in front of the net and he took a shot, everybody ducked because you never knew where that shot was going. Now with Shea Weber, it's hard, and if it hits you, it hurts. But Shea Weber's got a lot more control of where that shot's going than Gaston Gingra had. It was, who knows? But he had a wicked hard shot. So he used it a lot, but I don't think the player standing in front liked it very much. So Gaston Gingra, who are the best of these three? Very easy to tell. For me, Laperriere. Jacques Laperriere was a really good defenseman. I think he was a Calder winner when he was... I could be wrong, but when he was... I think I'm spelling that wrong. When he came into the league, he was a good rookie anyway. Okay, let me look at my spelling because... No, I had it right. So Jacques Laperriere, number 3. Number 2 is going to be Silvio Mantha. Another great player in Montreal's day. Stayed here. I thought he wasn't here as long as he was for 10 years. But he was a great player. And I think he was a local. I think he was local from Montreal. That's funny because I forgot to put it in the other video. He's also related to Momesso. Sergio Momesso, who's doing color for the games on the radio, was a former Habs player, played for Vancouver, St. Louis, and maybe some other places. Yeah, they're all related because Sergio Momesso is the cousin or is the uncle. Anyway, I don't know if I'm getting mixed up with somebody. Anyway, I believe they're related. If not, just never mind. And let me know in the comment section. Did I get that wrong? I think I did, actually. So anyway, listen, I don't edit, and this is a pretty good take, so I'm not doing it over when I'm almost at the end. Number 1 here is, obviously, Doug Harvey, the great Doug Harvey, who would have probably played here, like if they didn't trade him in 61, he probably would have been here another 5-6 years, had a much greater career, but he was just a great defenseman. Next up, number 1. Number 1, and this is a surprise, all goalies because only goalies were number 1. So, number 1, first one is Georges Vizina. The Vizina trophy is named after him. He played from 1918 to 1926 here. I think it was either in 1926, he collapsed on the ice and died within a month after that. Never played again, and he died shortly after. Let me say that. Died shortly after that. And they honored him, excuse me, with the Vezina Trophy. Jacques Plante, 1953 to 1963. The number's retired, and his name is on the back. He is the first to wear a non-leather face mask in a game. Somebody named Benedict, I don't know if it was Kurt Benedict, something like that, for one game, no, I think it was for 3 games, wore a leather face mask. And it was so uncomfortable and so hard to use that he stopped using it. And then Jacques Plante, many years later, because I think that was in the 30s, got hurt in a game, stitches, did not want to come back out. He was the only goalie because they didn't carry a second goalie during the games. And he refused unless he could wear his face mask that he was wearing in practice that he invented. It was fiberglass, that's the one he invented, and they allowed him because they needed to play, and they let him play until his stitches, whatever, recovered, and he played a few more games after that, or one, and was horrible, and they let him play with the mask from then on, and he's the first one to do that. So, yeah, Jacques Plante. Charlie Hodge, little guy, played here for a long time, was a pretty good goalie. I don't know a ton about him. Lorne Gump Worsley, the Gumper. Not a lot of people know his first name either, Lorne. But the Gumper played here from... Okay, this is what's confusing because they have it listed 1964 to 1970, and he wore number 1. And then Rogie Vachon, they have here listed from 1967 to 1972, wearing number 1. And I don't see how that's possible because it overlaps. So, if anybody knows what the real... Like, I didn't do the research to go and look it up, I admit. But if anybody knows what's going on with that, let me know in the comment section. I'd like to hear. And then Tony Esposito, he played for one season, so 68-69 season, and he wore the number 1. And Bunny Larocque, Michel Bunny Larocque. That's another one. I should have put the name Michel. His name was Michel Bunny Larocque. It's a weird name. I don't know where he got the nickname from. It's not from hockey, I don't believe. Anyway, I don't know where it came from. From 75 to 1981. And who are the best? Who are the best? I'm going to give, and I never saw him play, but he was a great goalie. George Vezina, number 3. I could be wrong here. I got Vezina. Not much I can say because I don't know him very much. Number 2. Tony O, the first NHL player that I guess idolized, like Guy Lafleur. Yeah, I love Tony O. I never really figured out the reason why I would have gravitated to a Chicago goaltender, but I think it's because when I was young, just before I really got into hockey, he was playing for Montreal, and I must have attached myself to him for some reason. I don't remember, but I always loved Tony Esposito from like the beginning. Then I discovered Guy Lafleur, and then it's been Guy Lafleur ever since then. But yeah, Tony Esposito, I think he deserves to be in the top 3 for sure. And of course, the great Jacques Plante was a great goaltender of his day. Amazing. He played a long time, a few different teams, won a bunch of cups, and just a great goaltender. And he invented the mask. He changed the game for goalies forever. So I think he deserves that. And there you go. That's my 12 days of Habs hockey jerseys. We're down to number 1. We're done. And hope you enjoyed that. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you have any comments, if you think I got it wrong anywhere, if you think I screwed up when I was talking about Mantha and Momesso, let me know in the comment section. And if you're new to the channel or you haven't subscribed yet, and I'm like, why? Then just subscribe and ring the notifications bell. That's down there, and that'll get you notified and your daily fix of Bleu, Blanc, Rouge. Right here, Talking Habs. Thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. It went a little long. I'm talking too much. But, hey, hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. See you next video. Peace out. Have a great day, everybody. Bye, y'all.